Hey Village, this is Rooted Online, and I'm Pastor Andrew, and we finally made it to chapter 2 of 1 Peter. I'm going to read the first 3 verses. So put away all malice and all deceit and hypocrisy and envy and all slander. Like newborn infants, long for the pure spiritual milk, that by it you may grow up into salvation, if indeed you have tasted that the Lord is good. In these 3 verses, Peter is transitioning out of his introduction, and he's moving on into talking about sanctification, growing as a Christian, becoming more like Jesus. And the first thing he says to do is to put things away or put them off. It's a word that can be used for like taking off clothes, dirty clothes. And so he wants us to take off the dirty clothes of acting like the world. And so he says several things. He says all malice, and this is like a general word for evil, baseness, depravity. Take it off. Deceit. And not just lying, but doing so with like cunning or treachery. You want to really do something on purpose, to plant a seed, to lie, to deceive somebody. Hypocrisy is insincerity. It's hiding your true evil motivations with a veneer and an outer layer of righteousness that's fake. It's play acting. And then he says envy, which is jealousy and wrong desire of someone else's possessions or even their successes. You want what they have and you want it wrongly. And last, he says all slander. And slander is speaking evil of someone in order to do them wrong, to defame them, to harm their reputation. All of these things are the way that the world works. This is the way in the business world where often you get ahead by malice and deceit and hypocrisy, envy and slander. And Peter says, take these off, put them away, get rid of them. And that's interesting that that's what he says first. Assuming that we've been born again, like he said in chapter 1, assuming that we are holy, like our Father is holy, we are the ones who ought to be putting these things off. This is an active fight to put these things away. We shouldn't be clothed like this because in chapter 1 we've been born again. We've had our souls purified. We're holy. We're exiles in a foreign land, and we can't act like the people here do. So we get rid of them. And instead, once we've gotten rid of those things, we replace them. And here's what we do. Verse 2, we become like babies. You know, you only have to be around a newborn baby for a while to figure out there's only a few things that they do. They eat, they sleep, they cry, and they poop. And boy, when they're hungry, they cry. They let the whole world know that they want that milk. And Peter's simile here, he says, like newborn infants, so we're to be like them. How are we to be like them? We're to long for pure spiritual milk. Some other versions help us here, I think. It says like desire, yearn, crave, that spiritual milk. Some of you may be desiring, yearning, or craving for that restaurant you haven't been able to go to for a while. The infant is craving that milk, because that infant, that baby, in their first year of life is going to probably triple their birth weight and possibly grow about 10 inches longer in just 1 year. Just consider that explosive growth. In the same way, as Christians, we want to be like these newborn babies in that we crave the spiritual milk. We crave what we need to grow. And we want to grow. We want to continue to grow, to become more and more like Jesus and less like our old selves. We want to be new. We want to be holy. And what does this do for us? It helps us to grow up into salvation. And so what is the pure spiritual milk? It's probably God's word. Or if we look at verse 3, it might even be beyond that or through that to God himself. Look at verse 3. If indeed you have tasted that the Lord is good. And this is Peter taking Psalm 34:8, which says, "O taste and see that the Lord is good. Blessed is the man who takes refuge in him." And the metaphor, the simile continues in that says taste. If you have tasted that the Lord is good. What does that mean? Well, that you've experienced. It's like you go to a new restaurant or you go to some place where someone's a really good cook, and you don't just taste the food, you experience it. It's like the movie Ratatouille, when all of those things are going off in the rat's brain when he eats different flavors and puts flavors together. That's what we're talking about here. That if you've tasted that the Lord is good, and he assumes that these born again believers have, then what you are going to do is you are going to grow, and you're going to long for the pure spiritual milk. So Village, do we want to be growing? Do we want to grow up into our salvation? Do we want to stay static and just stay the way we've always been? Or do we want to continue to grow up into our salvation? In order to do that, we need to crave, to yearn for, to long for the pure spiritual milk. Get into God's word. It is the only ultimately trustworthy thing that we have. And I expect that someday in decades from now, in my 80s, I'll be reading this same Bible and I'll be learning and finding, discovering, tasting new things that I've never understood before, because God's word is infinitely applicable, and it is deep, and it is beautiful, and it is good. All the time, it's good. And so we want to experience and taste that the Lord is good. I hope you want to do that. Let's do that this week.